Yan, back to Meta Alive tayo. Pag-usapan natin ang mga latest sa ating politika thanks to Tatay Digong. Well, to be honest, ayokong patulan yung mga issue na yan. Nung last week pang lumabas ito, alam ko naging ano na lang yan, entertainment online yan among others. Kaso, ayaw tigilan ni Pangulong Duterte. Ang daming blind item na dinedrop since last week. At medyo, alam natin ang anong implicit target ng mga attacks na ito in the broader context. No? So, naisip ko siguro today, kasi medyo may konting time tayo, pag-usapan natin three important elements no? Dito sa ating politika. At ito actually ay based dun sa aking column today, no? Sa Philippine Daily Inquirer. So actually yun ang naisip ko na maybe what I can do is actually condense no, yung mga articles ko, yung mga others, kaya para medyo multimedia journalist ang dating natin. No? Okay, let me get into this. Alright, shout out ka agad sila Mark dyan. Okay, three things. Let's discuss three things. By the way, gusto niyo itong Colombian, sabi ko, kulang na lang yung cigar ko at saka yung fedora hat. Di ko mahanap para talagang, tayo dyan. Alam mo yung pasok ka sa diba? Feel na feel Diba? Yung alam na this! Yes! Yes, yan. Grabe naman yung mga fentanyl versus cocaine na yung mga memes. Talo si King Kong, di ba? So, hindi matalo si cocaine. Grabe naman! Grabe naman yung mga memes. Okay, wag tayong humusga. Baka mahirap na. Okay, pag-usapan natin tatlong bagay today very simply. First of all, what I've been discussing for a very long time, the undeclared rivals ahead of the 2022 elections ay hindi yung mga iniisip natin, no? Hindi Isko versus Lenny, hindi actually opposition versus administration as much as we would want it to be siguro because yun yung medyo clear yung ideological fault lines, but actually it's between the Marcoses and Dutertes. At dito kitang-kita natin na si Pangulong Duterte does not want to relinquish power at all, in one way or another. President Duterte kind of reminds me of that Codillo mentioned in The Autumn of the Patriarch by Gabriel Marquez, no? Gabriel Marquez, no? The Colombian novelist, no? Kung saan parang, what was the description that he used for the Codillo dun sa Autumn of the Patriarch? It was very beautifully written. Actually, I suggest you really read that book. I drew a lot of excerpts and summary from that dun sa isang article ko sa Autumn of the Dutertismo. Basta yun yung sinabi ni Gabriel Marquez. He described the state of mind of that strongman, right? A fading strongman, because I think we're seeing the violent lashes of a fading patriarch, authoritarian patriarch. Sabi niya, here was a man who was alone the government, and no one circumvented his will, whether by word or by deed. No? At he always wanted to be alone in his personal glory. So, kung binasa mo itong Autumn of Patriarch ni Gabriel Marquez, 1975 pa lang. Of course, if you're aware of the context, I think he wrote much of it is in places like Barcelona, and it was actually a kind of a satire and reflection on may Stars Party dun sa General Franco, no? The dictatorship in Spain, no? So Spain din, meron din silang version nila noon, no? Although look at how far Spain has gone. If you look at it, President Duterte, may pagka-autumn of Dutertismo ang dating niya talaga, which actually I kind of had a premonition of last year pa lang in a column I wrote, the Autumn of the Dutertismo. No? So, I'm sorry, the Autumn of the Patriarch. No? May pagka-Autumn of Patriarch ang dating dyan. So, now, this is relevant. Of course, nakita natin, ilang strike na si Pangulong Duterte? Strike 3 na? Strike 4 na? Ilan ba? In-attack niya yung frontrunner ngayon sa race or supposed ally niya as pro-communist daw without providing any evidence. Very, very weak leader daw at wala daw siyang achievements aside from drawing and cashing in on his father's legacy. Yun na nga tapos may mga tapos inakusa pa na-pressure yung anak niya, no, si Sara Duterte, to step down to the vice presidency. I think President Duterte did not update his data. I think his data is still June 2021. So, para sa kanya, actually, hindi nga June parang first quarter Kasi sa kanya, I think his assumption was Sara was around 27, 28 points dun sa service. But this is quite dated, no? Bumaba na sa 20 points by September, and then now, of course, you could have imagined, no, maybe Sara would have been even lower, way lower, if she decided to actually go against Bongbong Marcos. So as I predicted, I called it, no? The momentum is on the side of Marcos's laban sa mga Dutertes, if that's the competition that we're talking about. President Duterte doesn't want to accept it. Now, which raises some interesting scenarios, no? Alam natin may disqualification petitions laban kay former Senator Bongbong Marcos. Just to be honest about this, ito, right off the bat, itong masasabi ko na medyo weird ito in the context of the fact that Senator Marcos was already a senator, was a congressman, was also a governor, so he already has occupied many elected positions. So, I don't know, bakit noon pa lang hindi challenge yan? So actually, predictably, yun yung naging line of argument ng Marcos camp so far, no? Now, he already occupied elected positions in the government. Bakit ngayon lang nire-raise nung tatakbo na siya for presidency at medyo frontrunner na siya sa surveys, no? Which I think is an interesting point to raise. And I don't know about... Now, of course, that may also have some legal merit. And also, politically speaking, it's something that may resonate with a lot of his supporters, and also some people are kind of in the middle, no? Na bakit ngayon lang ni-raise yan? At the same time, of course, pag tinignan yung tweets ni James Jimenez dyan sa, Twitter, obviously. Sorry, windom pa ako Grabe, sobrang busy schedule. Glad I got time to do this. Parang sinabi niya na, even if you did not serve a time sa prison, hindi ka nakulong, but if you were convicted of moral turpitude, meaning a criminal act with malicious intent, no, potentially pwede ka pa rin ma-disqualify, no. At by the way, there's a difference between disqualification at saka withdrawal of certificate of candidacy. Kasi dun sa disqualification, right, pwede ka pang yung party mo pwede mag-replace, no, ng another candidate. Pag yung withdrawal talaga yung certificate, parang annulment na yun, talagang walang-wala ka na talaga. And by the way, we're gonna discuss these legal issues, the nitty-gritties of that with Attorney Star Elamparo dun sa upcoming Project Pilipinas episode namin. So, abangan yan. So, actually, you can potentially be disqualified even though hindi ka nag-serve ng 18 months above dun sa prison kung you were convicted of moral turpitude. Mukhang yun ang isang nakikita natin argument that is coming out. Because if you remember, pagdating sa dun sa case ni former Senator Marcos, dun sa issue niya ng, filing of his, returns and all of that, there was no, hindi siya nag-serve ng jail time or anything like that. There was a fine. I think 1995, yung Regional Trial Court held him guilty, and then 2 years later, the Court of Appeals kind of upheld that beyond reasonable doubt, but tinanggal yung punishment na yung incarceration, etc. So let's see. Some people will argue that you cannot just dismiss it right off the bat. But the Marcos camp's argument is that parang bakit ngayon nyo lang ni-raise yan? Bakit noon pa lang hindi nyo challenge, or hindi nyo challenge yung decision ng Court of Appeals, no? This is more than 20 years ago, no? So yun, I mean, this is where we see talaga may pagkakulang sa ating sistema, through and through, and now everything is, the chickens are coming home to roost. Now, nonetheless, this is where President Duterte comes in. Balik pa rin tayo dun sa number 1 point pa lang natin. President Duterte, of course, the big question here is, ano yung magiging predisposition niya dito sa disqualification case? Now, of course, there's the conspiracy theory that President Duterte will try to lean on his appointees to kind of get Marcos disqualified. Not sure I buy that kind of conspiracy theory just like that. I mean, because that would be a very dangerous move. Baka mag-people power yung mga supporters ni Bongbong Marcos, no? Medyo malabo yan. I don't know if President Duterte will go that far. But there are other options. He could, try to say that, okay, maybe, I don't want to pick on you, I don't want to pressure anyone, etc. We're still good friends, right? Even if may mga kung ano-anong blind items na sinasabi ko dyan na tingin ng iba, ikaw naman yung tinatarget. But, just in case kung nanalo ka, make sure, alam mo na, di ba? In the future, be a reliable friend, no, just in case in Malacanang. That could be also a position he takes. I'm not saying he's taking those positions. I'm not saying, okay? Let me be clear. We're just talking about potential scenarios, or we're talking about yung mga options, no? But there's a third option, which makes things more interesting. The third option is just to let the disqualification case linger, no? Habang ito ay nagki-create ng shadow of doubt, no, among big donors, among some supporters. Kasi kung medyo maglilinger yan, right, that could have some dissipating effect, no, dun sa momentum ni Bongo Marcos. Remember, we saw something similar in 2016 kay Senator Grace po, no. Now, of course, there's supposed to be some defined date, no, kung saan dapat ma-resolve ng issue, especially if on bank, COMELEC goes for disqualification and this goes to Supreme Court. But nakita natin na delay yung case, no, dun sa 2016. And at some point, of course, yung naging issue is pag mag-print ng balota, andun ba yung pangalan or hindi, no? So, medyo hindi on time yata yung naging decision ng Supreme Court. So, we have a precedence kung saan the issue dragged on and created a lot of uncertainty and actually really hurt the campaign of a front runner. 2016, that was the case with Grace po. So, again, I'm not saying the president is going to do that. I'm just saying that is one option in the air at least, no? Na, or at least that could be a preference for some people that this issue will drag on and kind of eat into the momentum, no, of the Marcos camp, which by the way is cornering between 40 to 50% of the votes. Again, I'm not saying this is what's going to happen, and I wish the best for the Commission on Elections. I believe that just because you're an appointee doesn't mean that you're gonna, toe the line dun sa mga nag-appoint sa. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying if you're just gonna analyze scenarios, hindi lang ito yung qualification, disqualification, but actually dragging the issue itself could have political impact, right? Because biglang mag-iisip yung mga supporters, donors, wait lang, ano ba talaga? Baka any moment pwede ma-disqualify or hindi. So, for the Marcos camp, it's very important to get the disqualification issue junked as soon as possible, and at the same time, politically speaking, come out strong and say this is nothing but a demolition job, black propaganda lang yan, bakit hindi nilabas yun nung tumakbo pa ako for other elected offices, which by the way I occupied for year after year after year, right? So that's going to be the strategy of the Marcos camp. So we're just looking at scenarios here and analyzing mga pros and cons nila. So yun, so I'm saying there's a possibility that dragging the disqualification case, or the possibility that the disqualification case drags on, actually could also serve the purpose of the rivals of the Marcoses. I'm just saying that. So, the Marcoses have an interest in striking this down as soon as possible para walang shadow of doubt, no? Walang kung anong bahit na duda, no? Dun sa viability ng kanyang candidacy, which seems to be very strong right now. Alright? Okay. So, yun. That's number one. Let's go to number 2 points. Let's say number 1, my ABC. So now let's go to number 2. The number 2 point I want to raise is this. Bongo, right? So clearly, President Duterte now is pushing for an interesting situation whereby actually hindi si Paulong Duterte, hindi Sara BBM ang in-endorse niya, but actually Bongo Sara ang pinapush niya, no? Na tandem, which is kind of strange because Sara now is promoting BBM at sinasabi niya, let's protect BBM and all, which is kind of strange while, si tatay kung ano nung sinasabi niya dyan. But anyways, now, this is important because I'm not sure if Bongo is going to make the kind of wave that Sara could have made, no, or whether Bongo can surge the way President Duterte wants him to surge, no. But, if Bongo really consolidates the Duterte vote sa Mindanao, and then Pacquiao kind of stays in the race and holds on also dun sa Mindanao vote, jointly, probably Bongo will be in a much more ascendant position. Jointly, Bongo and Pacquiao can create a wall, an electoral wall that will prevent the Marcos camp from significantly increasing yung kanilang vote base sa Mindanao, where they're relatively weaker. Because napakalakas ang Marcos side dito sa NCR. So, no surprise kung magkalya survey ka dito sa NCR, Marcoses will come on top. Assuming yung Kali survey mo ay hindi scripted, di ba? na parang pre-selected yung mga pupuntahan mo, no? So I won't be surprised that in many surveys dito sa NCR, actually number 1 si Bongbong. Bongbong Marcos is also the leading candidate among ABC together with Isko Moreno, at of course malakas siya sa North Cordilleras, Ilocos Sur, Ilocos Norte, parts of Pangasinan, La Union, etc. Right? Although it depends how we're going to define the concept of solid North, which comes really from the final years of the Marcos dictatorship era. Now, so because for the Marcos camp, should they get a big bump or surge dun sa Mindanao at they hold on to their really significant lead dito sa mga Balanced Luzon, sa Solid North, etc. Then even if Marcos will not do as well in Visayas, then he'll still be in a very strong position of kind of consolidating Solid South or parts of it with Solid North, right? Which now is not just Northern Philippines, but is extending to parts of Balanced Luzon among others. So let's see. That's an interesting fact, no? Although, I would argue that dito sa Balanced Luzon and NCR, Marcos can come under pressure if Isko Moreno gets some rebooting dun sa kanyang campaign niya. And we're seeing some of that is happening, especially messaging niya sa West Philippine Sea, etc. And I expect him to go after Bongbong Marcos later on in the issue of China, among others. So I'm not counting out Isko Moreno. He can still make some sort of a resurgence or etc. if he can reboot his campaign and his messaging a little bit more effectively. Now, we can discuss the Isko Moreno campaign and its momentum separately. But for now, we're just talking about Bongbong Marcos. No? So in short, it's possible if President Duterte goes all in for Bongo, really, that, and there are a lot of DDS who are not necessarily Marcos supporters, right? We saw that already back in 2016, no? Now, going back to this, and of course, remember back in 2016, there was the Cayetano versus Marcos also aspect, which is quite interesting, no? Now, so if we go back to that, it looks like Bongo and Pacquiao can create some sort of a wall, electoral wall, to deny the Marcoses a consolidation of Solid North and Solid South, which essentially could seal the deal for the 2022 elections, assuming, of course, the disqualification case and other curveballs do not disrupt the plan. Parang hindi nga plot twist ang nangyari, twisted plot na nangyari sa ating politika. Grabe na yung mga nangyari dyan. Now, this brings me to point number 3. Andrea, wala yung mga lugaw-lugaw stuff dyan. Okay. Let's go to number 3. What is number 3? Ayan na-distract ako dyan sa mga nagtatroll dyan eh. Di pa nga tayo tapos, nagtatroll na kayo dyan. Mamaya na, tayo nyo muna yung question and answer part, tapos magkano tayo dyan. Brings me to number 3, which is Lenny Robredo. Alright, yan. Lenny Robredo. Feeling ko ako mag-type lang ako ng Lenny. Dami ng meta mag-respond. Tignan. Test natin. Lagyan natin. Lenny. Experiment lang. Kasi parang may trigger point yung iba dyan. Lenny. Yan. Tingnan natin. Experiment tayo. Okay. Now, balik tayo dyan sa Lenny's camp. Now, not long ago, pinagtatawanan si Lenny sa surveys. Nakulelat siya, Lenny Lugaw, all of that. Guess what? Number 2 na siya sa surveys ngayon, no? Yes, medyo malayo pa si Marcos ngayon, but things can change as we have seen before, diba? Mar at some point was way ahead in 2010 as a vice presidential candidate. Nakita natin with Binay, nakita natin with Cheese Escudero. So chill lang, right? But in fairness kay Lenny, she had the biggest surge among alternative candidates, at least, no? So if Marcos had essentially got a huge chunk of Sara base based on some numbers, we still can argue about that. Lenny also has had a significant surge, right? So parang second biggest surge is with Lenny Robredo. So clearly nakikita natin sa mga surveys, and also in terms of online surveys na hindi naman ganun ka-credible, 99% of them, doon din nakita natin yung daming solid Lenny, no? So, Lenny has made significant surge, and I think so long as Marcos is there and Marcos is the focus of everyone, Lenny is in the best position to score the points, right? And kind of positioning herself as the alternative candidate. So as I've always argued, If Marcos stays, that's good for Lenny. If Marcos gets out, and someone like Bongo or Sara would have entered the race, actually Isko could have benefited a lot from that. Because nakikita natin sa mga, a lot of surveys whereby people are okay with Marcos, are also kind of okay with Isko, right? And, okay, we can also analyze why, right? But going back here, so Lenny has been making quite a good surge. Her numbers are between 18 to 22%, something like that, right? My contention, though, is, kasi meron na tayong reluctant unity, at least between Sara Duterte and Bongbong Marcos. Ewan ko na lang dyan kay tatay. So medyo strong yung administration side, whatever, despite the divisions and all of that, right? Kaya ka nagkaroon ng search si Bongbong Marcos ng ganito. So you need some sort of a unity also on the other side, among the alternative candidates. I don't want to use the word opposition because, we can, magkakaroon na naman tayong debate sinong tunay na opposition, tapos may mga opposition na ayaw maging opposition, tapos ewan ko yung mga ganun. But anyways, going back to this issue, I think Lenny has to bring her numbers close to 25 or preferably 30%, no? For her camp, preferably for her camp, if she wants to trigger a rallying effect. Kasi feeling ko kung 18-20% lang siya, this won't be enough. Because still, Isko, Pacquiao, Lacson will continue to hope that they can have a surge. No? But if her numbers go closer to 30%, and Bongbong remains at around 40%, no? Then meron ka margin of error of 3 to 5%, then I think there'll be growing pressure on other alternative candidates to essentially drop out. Now, will they like to do it? Of course not. No, I doubt. But I think the donors and grassroots networks will do that for them. Because as we get closer dun sa final phases of the elections, the big donors and yung mga on-the-ground networks, LGUs, among others, they're gonna go for the most viable candidate among their preferable candidates. Kasi usually hindi lang naman isa eh. It could be 2 or even 3 candidates that people are comfortable with. No? Kaya nga ranked choice voting yung proposal ng ibang tao, katulad ng ginawa sa Democratic Convention for the mayor of New York. No? But we don't have that system. Single round first past the post tayo. But my argument here is this. Lenny should bring her numbers close to 30% or at least 25%. Para credibly she can argue for the other candidates or supporters of other candidates to rally behind her. And in that scenario, what we potentially can have, and I think this is increasingly more probable, not certain, but more probable, is that this will be essentially Robredo versus Marcos 2.0. Yan ang mangyayari sa 2022 elections. Now, obviously, Isko doesn't want that to happen. Isko's camp wants this to be a debate about sinong alternative to the alternatives, sinong transcendental post-populist leader or something like that. That will be the line of Isko, healing president among others. Pacquiao has his own line, Lacson has his own line. But the Isko's camp strategy, which is to make this really between them and the Marcoses, is beginning to pay off some dividend. But they have to push it more. I think her numbers should still bump a little bit more, 25 to 30%, probably around 30%, para ma-trigger talaga itong rallying effect, whether other candidates want it or not, right? So I think yun yung one of the things that we're gonna watch out. Now, in the meantime, I think Bongbong Marcos can credibly hold on to 30 to 40% of the numbers. So it's becoming more and more likely na yun ang mangyari. A Lenny around 30% versus a Marcos around 40%, something like that. No. Now, of course, things could change. If Isko Camp reboots, they can eat into the votes of both sides a little bit, build a strong center. Let's say with Pacquiao, if we can continue his surge in Mindanao na nakita natin sa third quarter, at least in the Pulse Asia survey, and also among Class E. Let's see. Let's also see with the Lacson Soto camp. Soto is doing very well. Senator Lacson is increasingly going for aggressive advertisement, aggressive stance on West Philippine Sea. He's making some policy positions. So let's see. I think it's unfair to count out anyone. And then, of course, we have other candidates like Calyodi, right, who's trying to tap into this issue of labor rights, progressive reform, social justice. So I think it will be unfair for us to just count out everyone else. But I think this is what we have to keep in mind. All right? Okay, I'll keep it there. So there are 3 points I discussed. The issue of disqualification and that there's actually, and the fact that some could actually benefit if magde-drag on ito. That's why for the Marcos camp, they would want to quash this as soon as possible para walang bahid na duda dun sa viability ng candidacy niya. No? So yun yung magiging strategy ng Marcos side. While for his opponents, they rather have this drag on rather than see it quashed early on. Right? And then dun sa second part, a potential go Pacquiao, not coordinated, but spontaneous wall, denying Marcos a significant surge in Mindanao, even though Sara is de facto vice presidential mate of Bongbong Marcos. And then the third factor is Leni's second best surge among alternative candidates, but her number should push up to around 30%, or at least around 25% to 30%, para magkaroon ng rallying effect, momentum. No? So I think these are the three key points I want to emphasize. Are there any questions there? Mamaya, hopefully, we can interview the candidates, but I don't think I'm gonna do it here. I'll probably do it for GMA Network, no, and then we're gonna get that out. So please, abangan yan. Hopefully, we can get different candidates there. Yeah, involved. Doon lang kay Tatay Digong, since medyo Colombian style tayo today. Isn't it ironic for President Duterte to run on an anti-drug campaign, tapos sasabihin niya yung pwede mag-replace sa kanya potentially no? I mean, I don't know. I mean, this is just if that's not an admission of failure of his drug war, then I don't know what it is, right? Anyways, mahirap na. Yeah, on the issue of disqualification, I'm just saying, at least on the surface, it looks like hindi lang opposition might want Marcos out of this race or has issue with the Marcos presidency next year. Mukhang even the other side, at least President Duterte doesn't seem to be very excited about Bongbong Marcos replacing him. Tinawagan niya na very, very weak leader, inakusan niya na pro-communist without providing any evidence, and parang inakusan din niya na mga Marcos is pressured Sara not to run for the presidency. So, yeah, kitang-kita natin. Tignan niyo yung ban at buy interview. My God. Saan na tayo umabot na I have to watch kung ano-ano sa YouTube just to know what my president is saying. Anyways, yan na tayo. But anyways, let me just be very clear. Things could still change in terms of the Lacson camp and Isukang. I'm just talking about, kumaga snapshot analysis lang to in terms of momentum of things, no? So wag niyo sabihin na hindi tayo Madam Auring dito, no? Nothing is fixed here. The same way na hindi predetermined yung victory ni Marcos, no? At he's not completely invincible. Supporters of Leni should not also be complacent. As I said, hindi pa, kulang pa, push pa. If they really want to create a rallying effect, they have to push it up 5 points more probably, or even more if they want to kind of create a rallying effect dun sa among alternative candidates. I don't want to even use the word opposition. Tony Montana! Hindi mo lang sigar Walang sigar medyo di ako smoking Wala Mabait ako Good boy ako, good boy. Yan ang mga lifestyle choices natin. Diba? Kailangan ko pa manood ng banat kung ano-anong sa YouTube para anuin ko yung quotes ko, yung quote ni tatay na ano-anong blind item niya dyan. Ano ba yan? Mga marites. Ano ba yun? Tolits ba yan? Tolits ba pag mga lalaki? Ano ba yung gender appropriate ng marites? Tolits? Ano ba yan? Sige, pag-usapan natin. Pero okay to, no? Okay yung I'm na this! Yeah! Kulang na lang fedora hat ko sayang Nag-drug test na si diba? Si Senator Lacson na okay, na wala naman problema. So I think unti-unti magde-drug test yung ibang candidates dyan. Okay yan. Anong interview segment, Andrea? Kaya nga may Project Pilipinas kami, di ba? May podcast na kami. Kanina pinost namin yung kay Lord De Vera, 2 hours discussion, di ba? So, tapos the other day si Atom Araulio, di ba? So, yeah, we're doing interviews among others. Ayaw niyo ba ako na ako lang mismo mag-analyze dito? Meron naman tayo pinupost na ibang tao Kaya naman dyan. Kamusta Marilyn from Singapore, Spore. One of my favorite city-states. Ayun. Alright. Ano dyan? May mga tanong kayo dyan before tayo mag-ano dyan? Mag-transition dyan? Panoorin nyo yung ano namin ni Lord De Vera kanina. Pinost ko dyan. Oo. Thanks, Ed. You like my style? Yeah. Mas maganda lalo kung nasa proper lighting, medyo dark na yun. So, hindi lalabas yung full natin. Latino, haciendero, estilo. Okay. Alright. Salamat dyan sa mga nagbibigay ng stars. Medyo nagkakaroon tayo ng stars. Alam mo, dahil sa stars, pwede natin ma-cover yung ating production cost, yung ating Meralco bill, tsaka yung internet cost ko. Ang mahal ng aircon kasi yun naka-coat kaya ng aircon. Yan, hindi kaya ng fan. Mainit ang panong. Kahit ko agawit yung bagyo. Namiis ni Chay. Pudot dito Yan, Don Fanucci. Fanucci? Sino ulit yung Senon? Sino yung Fanucci ulit dun sa, di ba season 2 yung si di ba? Si De Niro yun, di ba? Parang story nung tatay nila, yung di ba? Ni, alam na this. Yung medyo origins version, yung kakapunta lang sa US, from Italy, from Sicily, gano'n niya. Yeah, yun lang. Yeah. Grabe, you look cool today, ba't ngayon lang? Hindi ba cool sa ibang araw? Yan. Sige, shave tayo ulit para bagets tayo. Next. Pero ngayon kasi kailangan talaga, I think medyo may konting bigote. Alam mo naman, mga don, ang dating. Diba? Collab naman kayo ni Katonying. Ay, sino yan? Ano yung pangalan niya sa YouTube? Jan, something like that na pro Marcos. Basta yun yung parang Jan something kay Marcos, tapos banat by kay Tatay Digong, something like that, diba? Parang ganon. Yan. Tapos of course, yung isang friend natin, si Mark Gamboa naman kay Isko. Ito yung mga prominent YouTubers. Follow naman ako dyan sa YouTube. Right? Lagyan nyo ng name ko, Richard Darian, tapos may lalabas, Politica 360. Paano naman dyan sa YouTube? Para meron naman tayong konting laban sa YouTube. Alam mo, malakas tayo dito sa Facebook, medyo malakas tayo sa Twitter, walang laban yung mga meta dyan. Pero sa YouTube, medyo mahina pa At Twitter, gawa ko ng shorts, parang YouTube style, shorts reel. Post natin sa TikTok. Right? Don Facundo. Sino yan, Joffrey? Joffrey talaga, parang Game of Thrones, Joffrey. Right. Anthony Taberna. Bakit si Anthony Taberna? Anong damit? Ganyan ba? Ang style niya? Hindi naman, naka-t-shirt naman siya nung nag-interview kami noon. Yun. Sangkay Janjan. Yun, di ba? Yun yung pangalan nun, yung pro Marcos. Sangkay Janjan yata or something like that. Sa YouTube. Oy, salamat sa mga nagbibigay ng stars. Really appreciate it. Please continue to support our low budget Meta Alive ek. Alright. Yeah, tama. Sangkay Janjan, right? Hindi ko pa napanood, pero yun yung narinig kong pangalan yan ng Wala namang edit, fact-checking mga yan. Basta go lang yung mga yan di ba? Wala naman yan Mga YouTube University, yan Alright. Okay, thank you very much. Balik na ako ulit sa day job ko. Mahirap na. Hindi naman tayo vlogger pa. So, kailangan pa tayo magtrabaho ng day job natin, no? Kaya thank you talaga doon sa mga nagbibigay ng stars. Kaya kahit pa paano makover yung production costs natin. Oo. So, hopefully kung medyo vlogger mode na tayo, may production team. Actually, yun nga Nung dati, maganda pang ekonomiya natin. Hope ko talaga meron akong production team yung medyo hindi naman low budget, parang modest budget. Yung medyo may cameras dito, may cameras dyan, tapos may mga comments, analysis, yung mga ganun. Wala Hopefully next year, tignan natin. Pag na-booster shot na tayo, hopefully. Of course, sana mauna muna yung ating mga kababayan na hindi pa nag-fully vaccinated. Once mag-fully vaccinated na yung buong bansa, especially of course, yung mga more vulnerable demographics at hopefully tapos na sila mag-booster shot. Pag tayo nag-booster shot, so then let's see, baka we can do in-person podcast, discussion, everything like that. Ay, parang mas maganda pala pag long distance ang ano ko Oo, dapat ganyan ako di ba? Para kitang-kita talagang Yeah! Di ba? Right. Salamat ha! Pasensya na kung medyo nagkikingkoy style lang ako. I mean, kasi, of course, these are very serious topics and you could see talagang pinag-isipan ko talaga mga yan. I mean, I've written about that. I've looked at all the aspects and angles of that. But we wanted this to be an engaging discussion without trivializing. We're not trivializing. Siyempre, yung kinakabukasan. I mean, future ng ating bansang pinag-usapan dito. So, hindi ito Maricel? Alam mo, I'll be honest, Maricel. Wala akong time manood ng mga vlogs, whatever. What I do, I have so much books to read, I have so much to write, and the academic writing, citations. Ang ginagawa ko lang, once in a while, like silip-silip lang ako here and there, just to see ano yung mga trend lines. To be honest, wala akong time to watch trash. I'm not saying all. I'm talking about yung mga, alam mo yung mga trashy na political blogging na, alam mo yung nang babastos, kung ano. It just depresses me when I see that. And then to see some people are into that stuff, parang, grabe naman, wag natin trivialize, no? I'm not saying all. I mean, of course, there are many good vloggers and all of that. But I'm just so busy, no time for that. Wala nga akong time to, kung may time sana tayo, hindi tayo busy, I'll do this every day sana 3 times a day tayo FBI Live, morning, afternoon, at saka gabi, di ba? But wala But, let me say this, thanks to mga Meta, or no thanks really, medyo na-pressure tayo to be more engaging, right? Otherwise, siguro on TV, articles, ganun yung engagement natin. But at least now, dahil sa kanila, medyo na-pressure tayo to also be more engaging. So, yeah. So, thanks very much, no? So, thanks sa mga vloggers, medyo na-challenge tayo ng konti, no? But, at the end of the day, I'm not trying to compete with them in terms of engagement, etc. Quality over quantity pa rin tayo. But thankfully, may quantity rin naman tayo. Medyo malaki-laki rin naman ang ating reach on our own platforms. I'm not talking about mainstream media, etc. Right? Salamat Thank you very much. God bless po. Thank you very much. Yeah. Hezekiah, one of my books, I had 50 pages of citation and reference. 50 pages of citation and references, just to keep that in mind. Whew! Yeah. Imagine ilan vlogs ang pwede kong gawin pag I didn't have to put time into doing 50 pages of citation and reference. Thankfully, meron naman tayong mga research assistants and all of that. But still, this is not a joke, right? Yeah. But please, continue to support and engage us para ma-continue naman natin ito. Alam mo, parati sinasabi na iba, ay ng tao na masyadong intellectual, ganun. That's not true. I think if you make it engaging, entertaining, spontaneous, authentic enough, people are gonna appreciate it. Even the medyo pa-intellectual or intellectualing dating. I think hindi naman tayo pa-intellectual. Meron naman tayong nagawa sa buhay. Medyo double-digit naman yung Google Scholar H-index natin, di ba? Which is, you're not just gonna get that by, fake it until you make it. You have to produce something, right? So, yun. Dun sa mga gusto mag-bash, please check our Google Scholar. Double-digit H-index, right? Which is not easy to get. I'm just telling you, right? Yun lang. Di tayo nagyayabang. I'm just telling you, I walk the walk, right? And we try to do the talk as engaging as possible, but still, respect your audience. Give them the kind of intellectual substance they deserve and they're yearning for. At yun ang ginagawa natin dito. Diba? Ayan. Ay, medyo bumabait na. Ray Nalet? You have more live viewers than live news? Sino ba kalaban natin? Di ako nagko-compare. Grabe naman kayo. Di naman tayo compare. Grabe naman yung mga suggestion dyan sa mga drug test and all. Huwag naman kayo ganyan. Alam mo, sana pag-usapan natin policy Policy platform, hindi yung mga purong drug test lang. Ko naman. At saka if, people, no one is perfect. People may have done things back in the, when they were younger, etc. Huwag natin i-judge. Hindi naman lahat mabait katulad ko, diba? Tingnan mo, good boy, no drinking, no smoking, CrossFit, kaya medyo, alam mo na, hindi pa naman six-pack katulad ng dati, but at least, diba? Medyo, tayo. Maano ko yung mga fit kong V-shape, diba? Tingnan yung mga V-shape ng coats. Diba? Lam na this! Lam na this. Lam na this. Alright, thank you very much. Maraming salamat. Thank you ako ng thank you. Ayaw ko pa rin umalis kasi tinitingnan ko yung comment section pag may ano eh. May... Baka naman, di ba? Baka naman. I like listen to your vlog. Hindi naman vlog to eh. Ano to eh? Meta Alive. Ako ang pioneer ng Meta Alive sa Pilipinas and in the world. Thanks to Mark Zuckerberg. Time Meta Alive. So, yan ang gagawin natin. Oo. Oh! Jero! CrossFit ako. Alam mo yung burpees, yung mga ganun, yung 10 minutes intensive. Hindi ako naniniwala dun sa mga nag-gym na 2 oras sa gym, tapos 50 lang ganyan gawin nila. Ganyan. Walang ganyan. 10 minutes intensive, 15 seconds rest, 45 seconds, boom, 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 boom. Right? Burpees, ganyan, then, bicycle, Russian twist, ganun, dapat gawin mo. 10 minutes. Whew! After that, perfect. Okay. But, since medyo may edad na tayo, hindi na tayo 20s, right? Yoga muna. Stretching ka muna. Actually, Joe Rogan, ang advice na ako dyan eh. Sabi niya, stretching is very important. Lalo sa mga ligaments na habang tumatanda ka. You have to get the stretching right. Once you get the stretching right, medyo 15 to 30 minutes yoga, etc. Then you get intensive CrossFit, 10 to 15 minutes, boom, boom, boom. Kayang-kaya na katawan mo yan. Kahit 30s ka na, kahit 40s ka na. Sa tingin ko, at least 30s, I would say. Right, yeah. Wala akong time na 2 hours in gym. So, I'll give 30 minutes yoga plus 10 minutes intensive CrossFit. Okay na sana yan. Singapore ba kayo dyan? Hi dyan sa mga friends natin from Singapore, from across the Philippines. Saan yung ating mga habibis and habibatis from the Middle East? Gitnang silangan. Wala pa kayo dyan? Mga friends natin from the Middle East, friends natin from Winnipeg, Canada, from the United States of America, o Estados Unidos. Mga mi gente from Mexico, my Colombian friends from Don Ricardo, Wala? Ilang taon ka na, hey Darian? Grabe ka naman, may mga ganyan na. Hindi ako makatanda. Mag-shave ako ulit, tapos pag-usapan natin ang edad. Wag mo na ngayon. Tama yung advice ni Joe Rogan. Medyo sabog siya minsan kung ano nang sinasabi niya sa politics. But on sports, MMA, ganun, okay kami. By the way, both of us have black belts in Taekwondo, so similar yung background namin. Right, so, yeah, yun lang. Just saying. Alright? Thank you very much. Ito na talaga. God bless. Check ko na yung mga comments. Balikan ko yung iba kung kaya. At saka kung may mga troll dyan, bahala kayo sa buhay nyo. Thanks sa mga friends natin from Vancouver, from Canada, from firms around the world, and my friends from Colombia, from Latin America, etc. Amigos! Buenos dias! Right? Pag-usapan natin yan. Orlando, Florida. Mga Cubanos! ¿Cómo estás? Yeah, from Hawaii. Aloha! Alright, thank you very much. Yan, from China, ni hao ma. Ni hao ma. Kamusta kayo dyan? Friends from China, friends from Taiwan, mga Ilocano from Slovakia. Uwan, mga kapsat. Naglaying mat kayo. Habibis. Yan, mga habibis, habibatis from gitnang silangan. Yes. At mi amigos. Yan, Emirates. Emirat. Yes, our friend from Emirat. Right, and friends from California. Yes. California. Mexican California or US, di ba? May California din kasi. Baha sa California, di ba? Sa Mexico, sa baba. Kung daan ka ng Tijuana, pababa. Alam na this. At Australia. Mate. How are you, mate? Erica. How's it down there, mate? Yun. Alright. Good luck. Yan. Ciao de Milano. Grazie. Bueno. Hindi na, wala na yung Don Ricardo. Naging Italiano na. Grazie. Madrid. Buenos dias. Madrid. Totoo, di ba? Pag Madrid. No, let pag Madrid, ganyan. Yan. Friends from Alberta. Alberta. Alright! Quezon Province! Yes! Closer to home. Maraming salamat. Thank you very much for everyone. God bless.